Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon and watched the stars through the main screen. The ship moved slowly through space like a tired old whale swimming through dark water. Her crew worked quietly at their stations while she pretended to study the data on her tablet. Everything looked normal and peaceful, but Lisa knew better. The Horizon was supposed to be a research ship. It looked like one too, with its white hull and large sensor arrays. Most people would see it and think about scientists looking at old alien ruins or studying space rocks. They would never guess what was really hidden inside its metal walls. Kevin Blake sat at the engineering station and typed on his console. His fingers moved fast across the keys, but his face stayed calm. He was a big man with rough hands who had worked on ships for 20 years. Right now he was checking the hidden weapons that nobody could see from outside. The ship had enough firepower to destroy a small fleet, but it all stayed hidden behind fake panels and empty cargo holds. Amanda Rodriguez walked around the bridge, checking on each crew member. She wore the uniform of a security chief, but carried only a simple sidearm. Her real weapons were locked away in secret compartments throughout the ship. She had trained for this mission for months and knew every corner of the vessel. Her team was ready, but they had to wait for the right moment. Peter Johnson looked up from his science station and caught Lisa's eye. He was young and smart, with glasses that made him look like a typical researcher. His job was to make sure their fake scientific work looked real. He had been sending reports about ancient alien technology to Fleet Command for weeks. The reports were boring and full of big words that would make any enemy think they were harmless academics. The real scientist on board was Dr. Susan Wright. She sat in her lab studying actual alien artifacts. Her work was completely real, which made their cover story even better. She had no idea about the true mission and thought she was just doing normal research. Her innocent questions and excitement about old alien tools helped convince everyone that the Horizon was exactly what it appeared to be. Thompson sat at the communications station listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. His equipment could pick up transmissions from hundreds of light years away. For the past 3 days, he had been tracking strange signals that moved closer to their position. The signals used frequencies that belonged to the Kethfor raiders. Lisa walked over to Jake and spoke quietly so the others could not hear. Any new contacts today? Jake nodded and showed her his screen. 3 ships about 6 hours behind us. They're trying to stay hidden, but I can hear their engines. They've been following the same course as us for 2 days now. Lisa smiled, but kept her voice low. Good. Let them think they're being clever. How much longer until they get close enough? Maybe 12 hours if they keep the same speed. They're probably waiting for us to reach the asteroid field before they attack. The asteroid field was perfect for their plan. The big space rocks would block long-range sensors and make it hard for anyone to see what really happened during a fight. The Kethfor probably thought it would help them hide their approach. They had no idea that Lisa wanted them to get close. Admiral Frank Collins had given Lisa her orders 3 weeks ago in a secret meeting on Earth. The Kethfor had been attacking human colonies for months. They would swoop down on peaceful settlements and take prisoners or steal supplies. Then they would disappear back into deep space. Before any military ships could respond, the aliens thought humans were weak and easy to hunt. They had never faced real resistance because they only attacked defenseless targets. Lisa's mission was to change that thinking forever. She was going to show them what humans could really do when they were ready for a fight. Her crew had been chosen carefully. Each person had special skills and years of military training. They all knew how to act like peaceful researchers while hiding their true abilities. Even their medical officer was actually a former combat medic who had served in 3 different wars. The Horizon's fake scientific equipment really worked, which made their disguise even better. They had spent weeks scanning dead planets and sending boring reports to anyone who might be listening. The Kefir Intelligence Network would see a harmless research vessel doing exactly what such ships were supposed to do. Lisa looked at her watch and saw that dinner time was approaching. She needed to keep everything looking normal. All stations maintain current course and speed. Dr. Wright, please join me in the dining hall to discuss your latest findings. Susan Wright looked up from her microscope with bright eyes. Oh, wonderful. Captain, I found something amazing in the samples from the third planet. The crystalline structure suggests this civilization had technology we've never seen before. Lisa nodded and smiled. That sounds very interesting, Doctor. I'm sure our listeners will want to hear all about it. The dining hall was full of crew members eating and talking about their day. Lisa sat with Susan and listened to her talk about ancient alien tools and mysterious energy readings. Every word was being recorded by hidden sensors and transmitted to anyone who might be watching. Outside the ship, 3 Kefir cruisers moved closer through the darkness. Their commanders thought they had found easy prey. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. Lisa finished her meal and returned to the bridge. The hunt was about to begin. Sektar stood in the command center of his warship and watched the human vessel on his main screen. The small research ship moved slowly through space like a wounded animal. His reptilian eyes gleamed with hunger as he studied the target. This would be an easy kill? His 3 heavy cruisers had been following the human ship for 4 days now. The Kefir were natural hunters who had learned to track prey across the galaxy. Sektar had been hunting for 30 years and had never lost a target. The humans had no idea death was coming for them. The human ship was called the Horizon according to the transmissions his communications officer had picked up. It was a research vessel with maybe 50 crew members. They spent their time looking at old alien ruins and sending boring reports back to Earth. Sektar had read some of these reports, and they made him want to sleep. Commander, the human ship is entering the asteroid field, said his tactical officer. The young Kefir warrior had sharp claws and bright green scales. He was eager to prove himself in battle. Sektar nodded slowly. Perfect. The rocks will hide our approach and block their distress signals. Are the other ships in position? Yes, Commander. The Fang of Darkness is moving to cut off their escape route. The Bloodseeker is flanking from the port side. We will have them. Surrounded in 2 hours, the asteroid field stretched for millions of kilometers in all directions. Huge rocks tumbled slowly through space, while smaller debris filled the gaps between them. It was a perfect hunting ground where prey could not run and help could not come. Sektar had chosen his hunting pack carefully. Each ship carried 300 warriors and enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The humans had only 1 week. Research vessel with basic shields and maybe a few defensive weapons. This would be over quickly. The human captain was a female named Lisa Martinez. Sektar had seen her picture in the intelligence files. She looked soft and weak like most humans. Her crew was probably made up of scientists and engineers who had never seen real combat. They would surrender quickly when they saw Kefir warriors coming for them. Tell me about their defenses, Sektar said to his intelligence officer. The younger Kefir checked his datapad. Standard research vessel shields. 2 small laser cannons for shooting space debris. Basic sensors that can't detect us at this range. Their crew has no military training, according to our files. Sektar smiled and showed his sharp teeth. Good. We'll disable their engines first, then board them. I want prisoners for questioning. The humans must have valuable information about their colonies. Meanwhile, on the horizon, Lisa Martinez sat in her captain's chair and watched the tactical display. 3 red dots moved slowly toward their position. Jake Thompson had been tracking the enemy ships for hours and feeding the information to her command console. They're being very careful, Amanda Rodriguez said quietly. She stood next to Lisa's chair and studied the enemy positions. Professional hunters who know how to stalk. Prey, Lisa nodded. That's what makes this so dangerous. If they were stupid pirates, we could handle them easily. But these are experienced warriors who have been hunting humans for months. Kevin Blake reported from his engineering station. All systems ready, Captain. The hidden weapons are fully charged and waiting for your command. Our shields are actually at full power, even though our sensors show them as weak. Peter Johnson looked up from his science station. I'm still sending those boring reports about alien artifacts. If they're monitoring our transmissions, they'll think we're completely focused on our research. Dr. Susan Wright walked onto the bridge carrying a data pad full of notes. She had been working in her lab for hours and looked excited about something. Captain, I need to show you these readings from the artifact we found yesterday. Lisa had to keep playing her role, even though enemy warships were getting closer every minute. Of course, Doctor. What did you discover? Susan sat down and started, talking about energy patterns and crystal structures. Her voice was loud enough for the hidden microphones to pick up. Anyone listening would hear a typical scientist talking about boring academic subjects. The Kethvar were definitely listening. Sektar had his communications officer monitoring all human transmissions. The enemy commander heard Dr. Wright talking about her research and assumed the entire crew was focused on their scientific work. They have no idea we're here, Sektar told his hunting pack leaders over the radio. The humans are completely absorbed in their studies. This will be easier than I thought. His ships moved into final attack positions. The Fang of Darkness blocked the exit from the asteroid field. The Bloodseeker moved around to the side where it could hit the human engines. Sektar's own ship would attack from the front and do the most damage. Lisa watched the tactical display and saw the enemy ships getting ready to strike. Everything was going according to plan. The Kethver thought. They were about to ambush helpless prey, but they were actually walking into a carefully prepared trap. How much longer until they attack? She asked Jake Thompson. Maybe 1 hour, Captain. They're moving very slowly to avoid detection. Standard hunting pack tactics. Amanda Rodriguez checked her watch. My security teams are ready. We've been drilling for this moment for weeks. The Kethvar are going to get a very big surprise. Kevin Blake ran another check on the hidden weapon systems. All systems green, Captain. The moment you give the word, we can turn this research ship into a battleship. Lisa stood up and walked to the main screen. The asteroid field looked peaceful and quiet. Soon it would become a graveyard for alien raiders who had made the mistake of hunting humans. All stations prepare for combat, she said quietly. Remember, we have to let them make the first move. They need to fully commit to the attack before we show them what we really are. The bridge crew nodded and went back to their work. To any outside observer, they still looked like peaceful researchers. But under the surface, they were warriors getting ready for battle. Sektar gave his final orders to the hunting pack. Remember, we want prisoners alive. Disable their ship quickly, then board them. Kill anyone who resists, but try to capture the officers. The 3 Kethver warships moved toward their target. The hunters were about to become the hunted, but they had no idea what was waiting for them in the darkness. The attack came just as the ship's chronometer showed 0600 hours. Lisa Martinez was drinking her morning coffee when the first enemy shots hit their shields. Red lights flashed across the bridge as the horizon shook from the impact. 3 ships, attacking from multiple vectors, Jake Thompson shouted over the noise. They're using coordinated fire patterns to overwhelm our defenses. Lisa spilled her coffee, but kept her voice calm. All hands battle stations. Kevin report on shield status. Kevin Blake's fingers flew across his console as he pretended to struggle with failing systems. Shields down to 60%, Captain. We're taking heavy damage to the outer hull. The Kethfer ships were huge and deadly. Each one was 3 times the size of the Horizon, with thick armor and massive weapons. They fired bright green energy beams that lit up the asteroid field like deadly fireworks. Amanda Rodriguez ran to her security station and started giving orders to her teams. All security personnel to defensive positions. Prepare for boarding. Actions, but her words were really code phrases that told her warriors to get ready for the real fight. The security teams were not panicking students, but trained soldiers who had been waiting for this moment. Sektar watched the human ship from his command center and felt pleased with how the attack was going. The research vessel was trying to return fire, but their small weapons could barely scratch his ship's armor. Their shields were failing, and their engines were smoking. The humans are trying to call for help, his communications officer reported. They're sending distress signals on all frequencies. Sektar laughed. Let them scream into the void. No one will hear them in time to help. Are the boarding pods ready? Yes, Commander. 50 warriors are prepared to take the ship. They should be able to capture the crew within minutes. The boarding pods were small, fast ships designed to punch through enemy hulls. Each one carried 10 Kethfor warriors with weapons and armor. They would cut their way into the human ship and overwhelm the crew with superior numbers and firepower. Lisa watched the tactical display and saw the boarding pods launching from the enemy ships. This was exactly what she had been waiting for. The Kethfer were fully committed to the attack now and had no way to retreat. Kevin, how are our engines holding up? She asked loudly so the enemy could hear. Not good, Captain. The port engine is offline and the starboard is running at only 40% power. We can't outrun them. Dr. Susan Wright ran onto the bridge looking terrified. Captain, what's happening? Are we under attack? Lisa put a protective arm around the scientist. Don't worry, Doctor. We're doing everything we can to protect the ship and crew. But while she spoke to Susan, her other hand was moving across her command console. She was entering the codes that would activate the Horizon's hidden weapon systems. The trap was about to be sprung. The first boarding pod hit the ship's hull with a loud crash. Metal cutters began burning through the outer plating as Kethfer warriors prepared to storm inside. More pods were attaching to different parts of the ship. Boarding. Parties detected on decks 4 and 7. Amanda Rodriguez reported. Security teams are moving to intercept. Sektar nodded with satisfaction. Excellent. Signal the other ships to maintain fire support. We'll have prisoners within the hour. The Kethfer warriors cut through the hull and poured into the ships. Corridors. They were 7 feet tall with thick scales and razor-sharp claws. Each one carried energy weapons that could cut through human armor like paper. The aliens expected to find panicked scientists running in terror. Instead, they found empty corridors and sealed blast doors. The ship seemed deserted, except for the sound of their own footsteps echoing off the metal walls. This is strange, the boarding party leader reported to Sektar. Where are all the humans? They're probably hiding in their quarters, Sektar replied. Search every room until you find them. But the humans were not hiding. They were waiting in carefully prepared positions throughout the ship. Amanda Rodriguez had spent weeks planning for this moment. Her security teams knew exactly where the boarding parties would enter and how to trap them. Lisa looked at her chronometer and saw that 15 minutes had passed since the attack began. The Kethfer ships were close enough now that they could not escape even if they wanted to. Their boarding parties were deep inside the Horizon with no way to retreat quickly. All departments report status, she said into her communicator. Engineering ready, Captain, Kevin Blake replied. Security teams in position, Amanda Rodriguez confirmed. Weapons systems standing by, Peter Johnson added from his station. Lisa took a deep breath and spoke. The words she had been waiting months to say. All stations, this is the captain. Operation Mousetrap is now active. Show them what humans can really do. The transformation was immediate and shocking. Hidden panels slid away to reveal massive weapons that had been concealed inside the ships. Hull. The Horizon's weak shields suddenly became military-grade barriers that could stop anything the Kethvar could throw at them. Kevin. Blake's engineering console came alive with power readings that showed the ship's true capabilities. All systems now at full military specification, Captain. We have enough firepower to take on a battle fleet. The Kethvar ships were caught completely off guard. What they thought was a helpless research vessel had become a deadly warship in seconds. Their sensors screamed warnings as the Horizons. Real weapons locked onto their positions. Sektar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. What is this? How is this possible? His intelligence officer was frantically checking his data files. Commander, our information was wrong. This is not a research ship. It's a military vessel disguised as a civilian target, but it was too late to retreat. The Kethvar ships were trapped in the asteroid field with an enemy that was far more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. Their boarding parties were cut off inside the human ship with no way to escape. Lisa Martinez stood on her bridge and smiled as she watched the enemy ships try to understand what had happened. The hunters had become the hunted, and the trap was closing around them. Target the Lee ship's engines, she ordered. Let's show them how humans fight when they're ready for war. The Horizon's hidden weapons fired for the first time. Bright beams of energy lanced out across the asteroid field and struck the Kethvar flagship. The alien ship's shields flared and died as human military technology proved its superiority. The real battle was just beginning. The Horizon's weapons cut through the lead Kethvar ship like a knife through soft meat. Sektar watched in horror as his flagship's shields collapsed and his engines exploded in bright flashes of fire. The human ship that had seemed so weak was now destroying his fleet with frightening efficiency. All ships retreat immediately. He screamed into his communicator. This is a trap, but escape was impossible. The human ship had somehow activated a jamming field that blocked all their communications with the outside galaxy. The asteroid field that was supposed to hide their attack had become their prison. The blood Seeker tried to run, but the Horizon's weapons found it quickly. The Kethvar ship's armor melted under the assault, and its crew died screaming as their ship broke apart in the vacuum of space. Inside the Horizon, the boarding parties were facing their own nightmare. The empty corridors they had entered were suddenly full of human soldiers who appeared from hidden doors and secret passages. These were not frightened scientists, but trained warriors who had been waiting for this moment. Amanda Rodriguez led her security teams through the ship's corridors, hunting down the alien invaders. She carried a plasma rifle and wore combat armor that made her look like a battle robot. Her teams moved with perfect coordination as they surrounded the confused Kethvar warriors. Surrender now, and you will be treated as prisoners of war, she announced over the ship's communication system. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. The Kethvar warriors were brave, but they were also smart enough to know when they were beaten. They had expected to fight scared civilians, not professional soldiers. Most of them threw down their weapons and raised their claws in surrender, but some of the aliens chose to fight to the death. Amanda's teams engaged them in fierce battles. Throughout the ship, the corridors echoed with the sound of energy weapons and the screams of dying warriors. Lisa Martinez walked through the ship's main corridor and found herself face to face with a Kethvar warrior who had been separated from his squad. The alien was huge and covered in thick scales that looked like natural armor. His claws were sharp enough to cut through metal. You will die human, the warrior hissed in broken English. Your soft flesh is no match for Kethvar strength. Lisa smiled and drew her sidearm. Let's find out The alien rushed forward with incredible speed, but Lisa was ready for him. She had studied Kethver fighting techniques for months and knew exactly how they moved. She dodged his claws and put 3 shots into his chest before he could react. The warrior fell to the deck and looked up at her with dying eyes. "Impossible," he whispered. "Humans are weak prey." "That's what we wanted you to think," Lisa replied calmly. "Now you know the truth." On the bridge, Kevin Blake reported that the second enemy ship had been destroyed. "The Fang of Darkness is down." "Captain, only Sektar's flagship remains, and it's badly damaged." Jake Thompson looked up from his communication station. "I'm picking up transmissions from the surviving ship. They're trying to call for help, but our jamming field is blocking everything." Peter Johnson checked his tactical display. "The remaining ship has lost engines and weapons." "They're completely helpless," Lisa nodded. "Good. Now comes the most important part of our mission. We need to capture their commander alive. The plan had always been to take prisoners who could be questioned about Kethver operations. But more importantly, they needed witnesses who could tell other aliens what had happened. Here, the galaxy needed to know that humans were not easy prey. Sektar's ship was drifting helplessly among the asteroids. Most of his crew was dead, and his weapons were destroyed. He stood on his damaged bridge and stared at the human vessel that had shattered his fleet. "How is this possible?" he asked his surviving officers. "Our intelligence said they were harmless." "Researchers." His tactical officer was bleeding from a head wound, but still trying to understand what had happened. "Commander, I think we have been deceived." This was planned from the beginning. Sektar felt cold fear creeping into his heart. If the humans had set this trap, then they knew much more about the Kethvar than anyone had suspected. His species had been hunting humans for months, but apparently the humans had been studying them just as carefully. A new voice came over the ship's communication system. It was the human female captain speaking in perfect Kethvar language. "Commander. Sektar, this is Captain Lisa Martinez of the UES Horizon. You are surrounded and your ships are destroyed. Surrender now, and your remaining crew will be spared." Sektar was shocked to hear a human speaking his language so well. "How do you know our words?" "We know many things about your species," Lisa replied. "We know about your hunting tactics and your home worlds. We know about your plans to attack our colonies. We have been watching you for a very long time." The alien commander felt his world collapsing around him. The humans were supposed to be weak and ignorant. They were never supposed to be able to fight back like this. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Surrender your ship and prepare to be boarded," Lisa ordered. "You and your officers will be taken prisoner. Your crew will be treated according to galactic law." Sektar looked around his ruined bridge and saw the bodies of his warriors. He had no choice but to give up. His hunting pack was destroyed, and his ship was dying. The humans had won completely. "We surrender," he said quietly. Lisa smiled as she heard the words. "Excellent. Lower what remains of your shields and prepare." For boarding, Amanda Rodriguez led a team of Marines onto the Kethvar ship. They moved carefully through the damaged corridors while scanning for any remaining threats. The alien ship was much larger than the Horizon, but it felt empty and dead. They found Sektar on his bridge, surrounded by the bodies of his crew. The alien commander was an impressive figure even in defeat. He stood 7 feet tall with dark green scales and intelligent yellow eyes. "You are the human who destroyed my fleet," he said when he saw Amanda. "I am Security Chief Rodriguez," she replied. "You will come with us for questioning." Sektar nodded slowly. "I will not resist. But I want to know how you defeated us so easily." Amanda smiled. "That's simple. You thought you were hunting prey, but you were actually being hunted. We let you think you were winning until it was too late to escape." The alien commander was led to the Horizon's detention cells along with his surviving officers. As they walked through the ship's corridors, he saw the bodies of his warriors who had died in the boarding action. The humans had killed them all with frightening efficiency. Lisa Martinez stood in the detention area and looked at her prisoners through the energy barriers. These were the first HFY warriors ever captured alive by human forces. They would provide valuable intelligence about alien military capabilities, but more importantly, they would carry a message back to their people. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not helpless victims. They were dangerous predators who had been pretending to be prey. The hunt was over and the humans had won. 3 weeks after the battle, Lisa Martinez stood in the detention area of the Horizon and looked at her most important prisoner. Sektar sat behind an energy barrier that kept him safely locked away from the human crew. The alien commander had been very cooperative during his questioning. "You have learned much about my people," Sektar said in his rough voice. "More than we ever suspected." Lisa nodded. "We had to learn. Your species has been attacking our colonies for months. We needed to understand how you think and fight, and now you will use that knowledge to destroy us." "Not destroy," Lisa corrected. "Teach. You and your surviving crew are going to carry a message back to your people. The time of easy hunting is over." The interrogation had revealed valuable information about HFY society and military structure. Lisa now understood that the raiders were not acting alone, but were part of a larger plan to test human defenses before a major invasion. Jake Thompson had been busy sending encrypted messages to Fleet Command. The information they had gathered would help prepare other human colonies for possible attacks. But more importantly, it would help set up similar traps throughout human space. "Captain, we're receiving a response from Admiral Collins," Jake reported. "From the communications station. He wants to speak with you personally." Lisa walked to her ready room and activated the secure communication channel. Admiral Frank Collins appeared on her screen, looking pleased with the mission results. "Outstanding work, Captain," the Admiral said. "Your success has exceeded all expectations. How soon can you return to Earth? We'll be ready to depart in 2 days, sir," Lisa replied. "The prisoners are secure, and we've gathered enough intelligence to plan the next phase of operations." "Excellent. The President wants to meet with you personally. This victory is exactly what we needed to show the galaxy that humans will not be pushed around." Lisa felt proud of her crew and their accomplishment. They had proven that human intelligence and determination could overcome superior alien technology. The HFY had learned that lesson the hard way. Dr. Susan Wright knocked on the door and entered the ready room. The scientist looked confused and a little frightened by everything that had happened. She had finally learned the truth about the Horizon's real mission. "Captain, I want to thank you for protecting me during the battle," Susan said. "I had no idea this was all planned." "That was the point, Doctor," Lisa replied kindly. "Your genuine scientific work made our cover story believable. The aliens never suspected we were anything more than researchers." "But why didn't you tell me the truth?" "Because your reactions had to be completely natural. If you had known about the trap, you might have acted differently and given us away." Susan nodded slowly. "I understand. Will I be able to continue my real research when we get back to Earth?" "Of course. In fact, your work will be even more important now. We're going to need experts who can study alien technology and help us prepare for future encounters." Meanwhile, in the detention area, Amanda Rodriguez was conducting her final interview with the HFY prisoners. She needed to make sure they understood the message they would carry back to their people. "Your species made a serious mistake," she told Sektar. "You assumed humans were weak because we seemed peaceful. You never considered that we might be choosing to appear harmless." Sektar's yellow eyes showed understanding. "You set a trap for use from the beginning. The research mission was false, And your crew was actually military personnel. Some of us were military, Amanda corrected. Others were real civilians who were brave enough to risk their lives for this mission. That's something. Your people need to understand about humans. We protect each other, and now you will release us to spread fear among my people. Amanda shook her head. Not fear, respect. We want other species to know that humans are not easy targets. But we also want them to know that we can be reasonable. If they choose peace instead of war. The next day, Lisa received word that a HFY rescue ship had been detected approaching their position. The timing was perfect. The aliens were coming to investigate what had happened to Sektar's hunting pack. All stations prepare for contact, Lisa announced over the ship's communication system. This is our chance to deliver the message, the HFY rescue ship was larger than the ones they had destroyed, but it approached cautiously. Its captain was probably wondering why he could not contact Sektar's fleet. Jake Thompson opened a communication channel to the alien ship. HFY vessel, this is Captain Lisa Martinez of the UES Horizon. We have survivors from your fleet aboard our ship. The alien captain's voice was full of suspicion. Where are our ship's human? What has happened here? Your ships attacked a peaceful research vessel, Lisa replied calmly. They were destroyed in self-defense. We have prisoners who can tell you exactly what happened. Lisa had the communication channel switched to visual mode so the aliens could see Sektar and his surviving crew. The prisoners looked healthy but defeated. Their presence proved that the human ship had won a complete victory. This is impossible, the rescue ship captain said. How could one human ship destroy 3 of our cruisers? Sektar spoke directly to his fellow commander. They were not what they appeared to be. The humans set a trap, and we walked into it. They know much more about us than we ever suspected. Lisa allowed the 2 alien commanders to speak privately for several minutes. She wanted the full story, to be told without any human interference. The truth would be more believable coming from Sektar himself. Captain Martinez, the rescue ship commander, said finally, "What are your terms for releasing the prisoners?" "Simple," Lisa replied. "They will be released unharmed along with complete records of the battle. Your people can study what happened here and learn from it. We want the entire HFY fleet to understand that humans are not helpless prey." The prisoner exchange took place in the middle of the asteroid field where the battle had been fought. The wreckage of the destroyed alien ships served as a reminder of what happened to those who underestimated human capabilities. As Sektar prepared to leave the horizon, he spoke to Lisa one final time. "You have taught us a valuable lesson, human. My people will remember this day." "I hope they will," Lisa replied. "But I also hope they will choose to remember it as the day when our species learned to respect each other, instead of the day when the killing began." The HFY rescue ship departed with its rescued crew and the complete battle records. Within days, the story would spread throughout the alien fleet. The hunters had become the hunted, and everyone would know about it. Lisa Martinez stood on her bridge and watched the stars as the horizon began its journey back to Earth. Her crew had accomplished something remarkable. They had shown the galaxy that humans could be just as dangerous as any other species when they chose to fight. But more importantly, they had proven that intelligence and courage could overcome brute force. The HFY had superior technology and numbers that they had lost because they did not understand their enemy. The message was clear to any species that might be watching. Humans were not easy prey. They were patient predators who could wait for the right moment to strike. The galaxy would never see them the same way again. Admiral Collins was waiting for them when they arrived at Earth. The president had already announced that Captain Martinez would be promoted to Admiral and given command of the new defensive fleet. Her success had changed human military strategy forever. The Horizon's mission was complete. The example had been made and the message had been delivered. Humanity was ready to take its place among the predators of the galaxy.